David Hutchison is a professor and chair of educational studies at Brock University. Thanks for joining us. What's your reaction to Ontario making attendance a higher portion of final marks?
Well, this was an initiative by the Minister of Education, reportedly in response to requests from teachers. They were finding that in courses that don't have an attendance or participation grade, that there was very little incentive for students to actually come to class, apart from, of course, the engaging curriculum that they were offering. So having a standard across the province in which there is a requirement for attendance and participation will hopefully improve attendance for all students, irrespective of jurisdiction.
So how do you feel about that? First of all, having this, 15% of the mark being based on attendance, and the importance of attendance?
I think on the whole, it's a good initiative, but there are other things that the government should be considering, and school boards as well. It's a formalized approach, so that's helpful as a starting point. But there are other things that should be considered. For example, we know that there are some students who stay home because of social anxiety. They're afraid to go to school. They might be part of an underrepresented population, marginalized, and they are maybe bullied at school. And so it's really important that we make sure that schools are safe for students, that they feel welcome to go to school. And so that means that teachers and staff at school have a really important role to play in watching what's going on, not only in their classroom, also outside classrooms in terms of the social interactions between students. So we want to make sure that students are feeling welcome and safe at schools.
I mean, arguably, theoretically, and I guess we'll see if this happens, being, kind of that push to show up at school if there are kind of legitimate issues about why those kids aren't going to school. Maybe, the teachers and administrators will find out and have to confront that. As I understand it, but you tell me, this is a problem, lack of attendance, that really increased and has kind of hung over since the pandemic. Is that the case?
It was on the rise before the pandemic, but the pandemic basically enshrined this as a problem because it sent a message to students and in some cases parents that education attendance on a regular basis might not be as important as once we thought it was. So what it sent was a message that if you're feeling slightly ill, you might not want to go to school in order to protect others, but also sent a message that maybe education is not as important. So one of the things I think we need to do is increase guidance support in schools, starting at the elementary level into the high school years, so that students really see the clear connection between their high school and elementary school studies and the career trajectory that they would like to choose, that actually being successful in elementary and high school helps open up career choices for them, regardless of whether they go into the trades, into college or university afterwards.
I heard in our story from Lorenda that another change here is going to be bringing in final exams in, high school courses where they didn't exist before. There is a feeling that those of us who, and not me, but those of us who aren't experts in education, there's something that sounds, good about having a final exam. That's a good standard to aim for. What's your view as an expert on that?
So I have two reactions. First of all, it's good on the whole because many students are headed to universities, and I teach at one of those universities, and it's very common in the first year university and sometimes beyond to have exams. So if students have that experience in high school, they'll be better prepared for university. But we also know that some students struggle with exams. They learn differently, and they can show their mastery of school content knowledge through other means better than the stress of an exam. So there needs to be ways of thinking about alternatives for students that need those as well. But on the whole, it's a good initiative. I wonder if it's maybe something that should be considered, perhaps not for every course, though. There might be some courses that don't lean towards exams, but it's good for some, for sure.
Even hearing about final exams is making me nervous, and I haven't been in a school for a long, long time. David Hutchison, professor and chair in educational studies at Brock University. Thank you.
Thank you.